sa payroll sa usa ka interest group, naa siya sa payroll sa usa ka organization nga gusto nga itungod no, or ibaligya ilang kausa doon na say pipila ka mga sakop sa mass media who become vulnerable. Why? Tungod sa kagamay sa sweldo. The job may look glamorous but the pay is not good. Okay. So, doon ay vulnerability on the part of the reporters. Ikatulo, influence or pressure from advertisers and from the government. So, and we are seeing this happen today, no? Pressure gikan sa gobyerno in terms of regulatory restrictions or physical violence mismo. Meaning, daghan na kay mga journalists ang ipamatay. Especially when the journalist goes up against powers that be. No? Kanang mga haskyon na barugan, panangita ng iyang buot isuwat or buot isibya, dili lang gani verbal threat, kung dili physical violence na yun. And we've seen a number of journalists na namatay na yun. Okay. So, why am I bringing this up? Because Father mentioned earlier about nga naman nga dili na katuhuan or naminus-minusan ang pagsalig ngadto sa mass media. Dili matuhuan tao kay basig napalitra na siya. And we are going to witness siguro in the coming months, especially sa radio, no? Unfortunately, naamag yo'y kanagitawag nato mga attack collect o defend collect ng mga commentators. And I'm sure familiar sa mo ani labi na sa inyong tagsupag sa mga parokya where radio is still very influential sa atong source, as a source of our information, no? Makabantay din mo nga dunay mga commentators nga klaro kaayo nga doon na sila pigapigan and then wala taga-higayon ang pikas, no? So dili bitaw fair ang discussion. So that is part of the discernment that each of us has to make, no? Nga kita, we are bombarded every day. Ibombardyuhan ta kada adlaw bisag unsang matang sa information, and I will talk about social media later, but let me focus first on the traditional or kanang gitawag nato mainstream media nga bisan gani dinha dunay misinformation o disinformation. The second point that I would like to react to was the mention by Father J. Boy earlier about kinsa man ang atong audience. No? He talked about the unchurched, he talked about the youth, inyong mga parishioners, and etc. etc. Now, so I will segue now into some statistics. No? Kay it is important to know asa man ang Pilipinas karon. Niining konteksto sa social media, where do we stand now? Okay, number one, that's supposed to be January 2018 data, December 2018 naman na karon. Our population now is 110 million if I'm not mistaken, but let's use these figures because these are from January 2018. Out of a total of 105.7 million, 67 million mugamit na sa internet and active on social media. Latest figures show that 97% of Filipinos are on Facebook. And sa Pilipinas God, ang atong equation is internet equals Facebook. Mao nang ato, no? Kinsa may wala Facebook account diri. Wala. So I assume that 100% na ay Facebook account. No? Everybody has a Facebook account. Kinsay na ay Twitter account. Gamay ra. Instagram. Kinsa may email. Kinsa may Google. Okay. So Facebook is the hands down winner, no? Now, in the same survey, well, I don't know if you read the latest survey, but it's not very flattering to us Filipinos. Top-notcher ang mga Pilipino sa time spent browsing pornographic sites. Okay? So, number one ang Pilipinas, and it's not something to be proud of, no? So, top 3 countries with highest average time spent on the internet, ikaduha ta. We are second to Thailand. Top 3 countries with high average time spent on social media. Mayroon kag social media, we are talking about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Messenger, and etc. Pinterest, yeah. So, top 3 countries, kita ang top. Time spent on social media. Top 3 countries with lowest average time spent on social media. Number 1 is Japan, number 2 is South Korea, number 3 is Germany. So let me go back to the top 3 countries that spend most of their time on social media. Philippines, Brazil, and Indonesia. Okay. What does that tell you? The more progressive countries, they don't really spend so much time. What's like idle time, actually, compared to these countries that are itang tanan, we plead guilty, no? How much time in a day do we spend on social media? Ako, I also plead guilty to that. When you wake up, what's the first thing you do instead of maybe after praying or even before praying? You look at your phone. If there's a PM, if there's a DM, okay? I'd like a show of hands. Asa mo nagkuha sa inyong balita? Do you get it from radio? Okay, please raise your hand if it's radio. Okay. I'm talking of your routine, ha? Asa mo nagkuha sa inyong balita? Radyo, isang kamot, newspaper, TV, Facebook, Twitter. Okay, di pa na ikay naghan. I will admit, I get my news from Facebook and Twitter. Okay. And other than I-discuss din na say danger if we rely solely on these sources for our news, no, consumption. Okay. By social media platforms, Facebook is number 1 sa Pilipinas. That's about 52%, followed by YouTube, and then you have Messenger, and then you have Instagram. Top 3 Filipino Facebook users by age bracket, and then this is where the demographics that Father J. Boy mentioned earlier, kinsa man ang inyong target, and what platform will you use for your target. So, according to the survey, number 1 is the age bracket between 18 to 24. Taas sila sa Facebook. 18 to 24, followed by 25 to 34. Di ba po kakita din? And then the third is, here, okay. The third is 13 to 17 years old. So again, ang inyong top Facebook users would be 18 to 24 years old. These are the youth. And I know that 2019 is the year of the youth. So, kabalo na ta unsay mas effective nga platform na atong gamiton para sa atong messaging, especially for the year of the youth. Alright. Between male and female, mas daghang babae ang naa sa Facebook kaysa lalaki. Okay. And then we go to a discussion on whether social media can be viewed or can be considered as a news platform. In the United States and in Europe, there have been calls for Mark Zuckerberg, who founded Facebook. Siya ay CEO karon sa Facebook. Ang role ko sa Facebook karon mura siya aggregator, no? Mura repository siya sa tanan. Even your own posts, ang mga newspapers na sila sa Facebook, TV stations na sila sa Facebook. That's why we get all kinds of news on Facebook. Okay. Even news about nag-away mo sa imong bana, kana sikuan, nangutang na ko, wala siya kabayan, i-post na sa Facebook. Okay. So, tanan, naanan yun sa Facebook. So, unfortunately, lahi sa mga newspapers, lahi sa mga newsroom sa TV o radyo, sa newspaper, sa TV o radio, there is such a thing as we call gatekeepers. No? Ang mga gatekeepers, na sila ang mga editor. Meaning, before a story gets published or gets aired or is broadcast on radio, muagi na siya og proseso. Ang kanang proseso, nag-involve na siya og fact-checking. Meaning, before siya magawas sa newspaper, before siya i-air sa radyo o sa television, niagi na siya daghang mga kamot to check whether the information is correct. Sakto ba ang spelling? Sakto ba ang location sa sulod? Sakto ba ang number of casualties? Sakto ba ang isulti sa news source or dili? So, that is gatekeeping. In other words, ikaw nga ni-consume sa news, you are assured na ang imong gibasa sakto. Okay. However, sa social media, especially sa Facebook or even sa Twitter, each one of us, kitang tanan, mahimo tang reporter, mahimo tang editor, mahimo tang publisher sa atong kaugalingon nga post. And nobody else is vetting it for us, nobody is editing it for us. Mawita na, daghan kaayo ang manggawas karon sa social media nga mga balita nga dili tinuod. And unfortunately again, people are very gullible na it has the appearance of being true, but it is not true. I-share na to. What happens when you share a post? When you share a post, for example, ako, doon ako'y 1,000 followers. Once I share that post na sa'yo, exponentially, 1,000 po, I share the mistake 1,000 times because 1,000 people follow me. And for every one of those 1,000, na imong gi-sharean sa imong post, doon na po to siya, let's say, 1,000 followers po. Wala na niingon na ni-viral na. Because it is taken from the word virus, di ba? Once a post becomes virus, and it is wrong, there is no way, like what Father said earlier, na imo na siyang malitim right away. Even if you post a correction to it, it is not an assurance na ingon ana bitaw kadaghan ang mo share pod sa correction. Dili. That will remain katunga balita will remain stuck in their mind. Nga mo na to siya mahimong viral karon. So, nakakontribute na sa kaiwan sa atong katilingban by sharing fake news. So, going back to Mark Zuckerberg, he was asked, why don't you classify Facebook already as a news platform? And he said, no, a news platform. Facebook is not going to be a news platform. Because each one has a right to publish what he wants to publish on Facebook. But fortunately, karon, governments, especially sa European Union, are now taking note of what Facebook has failed to do. No? Because there have been a lot of issues involving Facebook. This morning lang, before I left the house, I was watching CNN. And they had this news about there's been a breach again committed sa Facebook. 6 million users whose photographs, which they did not intend to be published publicly. Kaya naman tayo mga photos no nga, for ourselves alone, or for a close group alone, or for friends alone. And then you have the public, no? Mama na ilang mga categories. Apparently, na-breach na po na. There was a third party na nakakuha sa pictures ng 6 million subscribers sa Facebook. And we don't know what the third party will do with those private pictures. Okay. So nobody is safe on Facebook, nobody is safe on the internet, in other words. So, technology is as good as how we use it. No? Makina na, technology na, the ultimate decision lies with us, whether we want to publish what we want to publish it. Okay? And then I go back to the gatekeeping function again. You're familiar with the term bloggers, no? These are individuals who have taken it upon themselves to publish posts sa ilang mga accounts, and then doon na sila yung mga followers. Okay. So it's like a journal. It's like a journal on the internet. Question, maklasify ba na sila as journalists or reporters? Now, for the journalists who have gone to journalism school, there is this position that, no, they cannot be considered as journalists because they have not undergone the proper training which journalists have undergone. No? The skill may be there, but the ethics may not be. That is why there was mention of influencers bitaw. Just how influential are they when they publish their blog or when they publish their post and then they claim doon na sila 5 million followers. Question. Kana nga figure na 5 million followers, are these organic or real people? Or are they bots? Machines? Or are they trolls? Trolls can be people na gibayran, but they have several accounts and they can multiply the likes in your post, giving the impression that you have 5 million followers. Now, interestingly, about 2 days ago, or was it yesterday, there was an audit that was published. Doon ay i-audit ng mga influencers. These are the likes of Boca Uson, Thinking Pinoy, Sasot, okay. And out of the, let's say, 100% nila nga mga followers, it turns out that more than 50% of those who follow them turned out to be not organic people, meaning manufactured ang number sa followers. Okay. So that was an audit that was made. Now, why are we mentioning this? Because even advertisers are now careful about putting their advertisements in social media accounts that claim to have millions of followers. Nga naman, because the figures can be manipulated also. So kung ta, unsa naman lang di ay ang tinuod karon. Accountability versus independence or anonymity. Again, sa traditional media or even in newspapers or media outlets that have pivoted towards digital media, there is still the gatekeeping process, fortunately. But for those who claim to be journalists or reporters or even bloggers, na mag-post sila sa ilang Facebook account or sa ilang kaugalingon na website, because it is their own work. Sila yun. Mura sila one-man crew. Nobody vets it for them, nobody edits it for them, and then there is that so-called independence, and some do not even use their true names. That's why there's anonymity. There is no accountability. Mas isog raman na sila because they don't use their true names. Mugamit o alias. Now, doon namin nakita during our research, naingon man si Heidi, can we do a Cebuano situationer on social media as a tool for evangelization? Dinino ni siya Cebuano, but the Bishop of Tagbilaran, si Bishop Abel Uy, who follows him, Tebayo na iyang online name. Bishop Uy of the Diocese of Tagbilaran uses video. He came up, for example, with a video. Iyang simplify ang concept of the separation of church and state. So iyang yung nag-explain. And then, every day, doon na siya i-post sa iyang Facebook account. Panalitan ka na sa middle, no? Usaha na sa iyang mga postings that he does on his Facebook account. And then, ako sa nahibawan dito sa Santa Fe, ang kura dito, si Father Roy, gigamit sila na iyang Facebook account, kaya iya mag-ipanindot iyang simbahan. So, he uses it to generate donations. And then to be transparent about it also, hindi kahuman, muhatag po check accounting sa mga donors. O, si Kuan, ang kanilang family ni donate sila 5,000 ato ning ihapak para sa semento. So everybody, ang mga followers, ang mga parokyano, kahibaw sila on how the amount was spent. So these are just two examples of how we can turn around, no? Turning an otherwise negative scenario into something positive. Toxic is the word of the year. Oxford Dictionary has said that toxic is the word of the year for 2018. And it describes how people are feeling now because of social media. There is so much hatred. There is so much violence even. There is this Facebook account. I don't know why it has not been taken down yet, but I know some of you follow it. It's called Cebu Flash Report. Familiar naman na? Unfortunately, well, na-news magsana sila because they posted something about a bomb threat in Lapu-Lapu. And it was not verified. And it caused a lot of panic and fear, especially among the people of Lapu-Lapu. And there was an attempt to investigate, call the people behind that particular group, but nothing has happened. Walang follow-up, no. Nobody has been charged, nobody has been sent to prison. But I've seen some posts of that particular group, and it can be very disturbing. Yan naman. Kita mo ang mga aksidente sa daan karon, grabe, di ba? Mga motor, maligsan o mga 10-wheeler and all of that. Ordinarily, sa traditional media, dili mo yun na pwede. Nga ipakita nimo nga, you know, na nabungkag na yung ulo, for example, or you can imagine, hindi na lang ako i-describe in graphic detail. But this particular group, wala yun na sila qualms about posting it there for everyone to see. Now, mayo na lang that lately, there is an attempt by Facebook also. Nag-hire sila 20,000 ka mga tao, and many of them are in the Philippines, to remove content that is violent, remove content that promotes terrorism, pornographic content. So if you notice, kabantay mo sa inyong account, doon ay mag-post of picture, pero doon na siya white picture na magawas, pero naa siya yung mga phrase nga maingon, this contains violent or disturbing material or something, but they don't really post the picture. Okay. So mura na siya, niagi na siya. Ang tawag na nila mura cleaners, mantingali, katong nga grupo. And many of them are in the Philippines. Ipang-hire na sila sa Facebook. So it's Facebook's attempt to clean up the mess that they started anyway, no? Because it's really like open to the public. Kinangtanan, we are free to post anything that we like, but careful lang because Attorney Ayan will tell you later on that we are still subject to laws, especially sa libel. So, dili lang kayo tamo kumpiyansa nga magtuot ang Facebook mabitaw na. That is even worse because Facebook is worldwide ang imong circulation anak. Dili na siya para sa newspaper or sa radio. Alright. So, I came across this article in the New York Times. It was an opinion column. And giganahan ko because the opinion writer was able to encapsulate what is wrong with what we are doing now. And maybe we should go back to the basics. Okay. Tweeting and trolling are easy. On the other hand, mastering the arts of conservation and conversation and measured debate are hard. Texting is easy. Writing a proper letter is hard. Naguba na gani atong grammar and spelling because of texting. Where na you? Here na me. No? I mean, those shortcuts. Looking stuff up on Google is easy, but knowing what to search for is hard. Having 1,000 friends on Facebook is easy. Maintaining 6 or 7 close adult friendships over several years is hard. Swiping right on Tinder, I don't know if you know what Tinder is. It's a dating application. So it's supposed to be if you swipe right, you accept that particular invitation. But finding love and staying in it is hard. Right. But my time is up. Maybe we can discuss this later on during the open forum if you're here to know. But just briefly, SMART as a service provider, we are also conscious of our responsibility and our role. That's why we have taken several initiatives also to inform and to educate our subscribers so that ang paggamit sa internet will be a well-informed decision. No? Tabangan na to atong mga subscribers na tunay sakto nga pamaagi sa paggamit sa internet. And so that dili sa mo contribute sa toxicity din sa social media. So, dili lang sa kukuto. Thank you very much.
Our second reactor, Vincent C. Manticajo.
Dugan ako. May montag, kapitang ipayon to na. I'll keep this short, my reaction. Actually, I prepared a couple of slides and then ako lang ihaong to react to the discussions earlier. Okay na? So the title of my reaction is Navigating the Tricky and Dynamic World of Social Media. Social media has become pervasive in our lives. It's everywhere. 100% of people in this room are on Facebook. So there's a definition of social media. I'll just skip that. Definition mo. Okay, next slide please. But there are two faces of social media. Okay? Friend or foe, I agree, no? It could be a friend, it could be an enemy. Next slide, please. As a friend, it is a tool for informal learning. Nagandang makatunan sa media, gawas sa eskwelahan, di ba? Then, it can connect people. Itong mga dugay na kayo natong batchmates sa elementary, makita na ito balik sa social media, no? Excuse me. But on the other side, it is addictive. Ingon sila nga, the social Facebook is the new cigarette. Addictive. Harmful to our well-being, fosters insecurity and dependency for self-worth or validation, leads to isolation. You no longer interact personally sa imong surroundings because you're too focused on social media. It's a common scene in restaurants, di ba? Magkaon ang mga tao, pero gadoko, wala nagstorya, kay nagsigig, tanaw sa ilang phone. Destructive, deceptive, and is also a privacy risk. But social media is here to stay. It's not going anywhere in the future. So we need to find ways to use social media positively. And so we learned a lot this morning about those ways in which we can use social media as a tool for evangelization from Father Jacob. I have a column in the Freeman every Tuesday and Saturday. And I realized when I scoured through my previous articles that I have written a lot about social media. And I'd like to share some of those quotes in what I have written as a reaction to what was discussed this morning. So here are some of the articles of which I tackled the issue on social media. In June 20, last year, for example, I wrote that there is no doubt that emerging technologies have a big and profound impact on our lives. In fact, even bigger than extraordinary stories of the daily news grind. And then I wrote, April 21 this year, entitled Obstinate Ignorance. But as the internet becomes a part of life, our ability to think critically must be held important, lest we get lost or confused in the maze of the digital information age. In my article, Facebook's Calibrated Response, I said, user-generated content, social interaction, and real-time collaboration are what make social media platforms like Facebook relevant and useful. But, just like any modern or any other modern tool of various eras, like itong panahon na mawapay pagtumaw sa television, sa radyo, okay, o sa print media, social media can exploit human weaknesses and become dangerous if basic instincts get in the way of prudence. In the same article I wrote, many people have shown that social media and instant messaging bring in an unprecedented level of connection and openness among people on different levels. That's true. But instead, the world today is more divided than ever. And consumers who are constantly plugged into social media have started to realize this. I had heard earlier this morning, I had a chat with Attorney Jane, and we were in agreement that kining atong experience ron regarding social media, the toxicity is probably just a phase. The same phase that we experienced when we were introduced to new technologies way back. And then we are quite positive that ultimately we will be able to find a solution that would settle things. Mawala na ang negativity. And one of that is like what we're doing here. We're discussing about social media and how to use it as a tool towards positivity and evangelization. Then my article, Choose to be Good, October this year, I wrote, communications vitality in whatever form still depends on the moral sense and good character we choose to live by. Otherwise, we risk shifting its power to the demagogues among us. So, ang communication, nagdepende gihapon siya largely sa unsay naa sa atong kaugalingon. Unsay mensahe na atong dalon. Wala siya kadepend sa nagdala sa communication, like social media. Napaspas lang, no? Napaspas, nagayag, na mas spread karon ang channels of information. Then in the same month, I also wrote, why is social media very conducive for fake news and emotional trigger? So I thought about it. I found out through research that, for one, producing content and posting it in social media is cheap. Okay? Magpapublish ka sa newspaper, mahal. Mag-announce ka sa radyo, magpapaka-radio station, bisag libre, complete pa ka. Pero kung ato ka sa Facebook, dali na kayo, instantaneous. Another reason, according to social media researchers, is that the format of social media information, short, flexible, visually appealing, and rapidly delivered, makes it difficult to verify, as it pulls the reader along compulsively to its desired response. Kusog kayo makatintal, visually appealing, no? Dali na kayo mahayalo tungkol sa kay visually appealing siya. Most of the time short, and it's rapidly delivered. Sa ingon pa ni Attorney Jane kanina, it's easy. It's not difficult. And the third reason is that online social networks are ideologically segregated. It means that most of our views on Facebook, most of the posts that we are exposed to in Facebook, and most of our friends in Facebook are actually the same circle of people that are ideologically common to our set of beliefs also. So that we ourselves are putting ourselves in a social bubble that is far from the reality around us. So too much social media, exposing yourself to Facebook, it's like putting yourself in a social bubble na wala naka-aware sa unsay tinuuray nga paghitabok sa imong surroundings. Kay expose kay ka sa unsay naagi hungin sa imo sa social media. Pag kinirma social media, naari sila way of kanang gitawag nila cookies na kung unsay imong sige ganahan tanawon, mo sa na iyang si ihatag nimo as advertisements or mo ay magawas on top of your feed. So, one basic challenge yun in the social media age is kung saan mo pagbalance nga, you use social media but padayon kahapon ka aware ka sa imong surroundings. Na mugawas ka usahay. Magkiklambigit mo ka sa imong isip katao sa tinuoray, hindi lang sa virtual. Kung mag-istorya ka. Pero mayroon lang nga, meeting ta, kung nalang ta, mag-chat ka sa Facebook, etc. Wala na ang personal, nawala na. Mandili man na makasubstitute ang digital sa personal. Dili. Can never happen. Okay? So dahil na yun magkita mo, dahil na yun makita ka sa iyang pahiyong, di ba? Sa iyang reaction. Now, in the Chong case in social media, it is no coincidence that the era of social media has also ushered in an age of historical revisionism by keyboard armies, fake accounts, fake news, and gullible publics. Kaya mo atong katong campaign sa social media about the convicts in the Chong case. Medyo ni-trending to for a while, di ba? But for those of us who are aware of that case, medyo nakatimbol, di ba? Di pa ni mautong na itabo before. Medyo naamay na usab based on the campaign sa social media. So I wrote about that. Excuse me. Then I said, what is unsettling is on how so many people can easily make conclusions based on what they read and watch in social media, including what their friends share there. So usa sa lista ka pa, sort of kahadlok sa social media kay amigo makundi mo ang nag-share. Pagkailangan niya, pwedeng dali lang ka ma-influence niya. So kung share siya fake news, posible, tuorin ka po. Kaya ikaw man mo siya. This lack of critical judgment as to information shared in social media should now push schools to strongly promote critical perspectives in the area of new media communication. So ako isip kabahin sa academe, nag-push to me na ang mga estudyante, mga kabatanunan, as well as mga hindi na batanon, basta willing lang makaton, dapat naana sa curriculum karon ang critical perspectives in new media communication. Na mahigibalo na ba? Mutanaw unsay atik, unsay kamatuoran, unsay baka, o unsay pwede atong tuuhan. Then March this year, I wrote, relying on the instantaneous textual mode, like in the comments made online, for instance, excludes the personal and social cues found in traditional forms of communication. This leads to plainmate and depersonalization. Unang mabantay ninyo sa social media, dali na kayong naway. Dali na kayo ang pagsaway. Ang mga tao, isog kayo. No? Kaya wala man sila sa katubangan sa ilang katao. Okay? Hindi man ninyo na nagstorya sila like in this forum, o magbinastos mo muna ko, kurang lain, di ba? There is some form of decorum that we follow in interpersonal communication. But in social media, that dynamic is lost. Plus the fact that many people interacting in social media are hiding behind the cloak of anonymity. Wa sila mailahan. Wa mo kaya, bitaw siya kailan ako, magbinastos na ako. No? Napagawas ang iyang basic instinct instead of iyang sense of prudence. It should become a habit for people to frame information that is online with the actual social environment that they are in. They can, for instance, resort to triangulation. This is one way to verify sources in social media or news in social media. Ayaw na ng buo. Okay? You validate the information. How do you validate? Go to your trusted sources. Okay? Kanang inyong masaligan na sa una, nihatag na sila o sakto nga balita. Okay? 2 or 3 sources. And verified. In November this year, I wrote, the most important component of communication is accountability. If we value freedom of speech or of expression, we must realize that it carries with it certain responsibilities. Mo na kulang karon sa social media, and I think it's very important, accountability. Kay tungod anang anonymity, dili mailahan nagtago sa iyang anonymity. So, when a person is anonymous, number one thing that is lost right away is a sense of responsibility and accountability. Okay, wala sila kailan ako. Pwede na ako makastorya bisa po sa anyway, I will not be held accountable for it. So, those are some of the write-ups that I'd like to share. And the question comes now that with all these dangers of social media, should social media be regulated? Heidi was asking me weeks before this talk if I could mention some of the laws or the legal environment that pertains to social media. And right on, I would say that social media regulation is a slippery slope. Kung saan ang slippery slope, dali ra ka manakinas, dali ra ka slide kung di ka maghinay. Kung immediately mo yung we should regulate social media. My advice is careful with that. Okay? In fact, there are now attempts to regulate social media. I think this year, or earlier this year, a bill was introduced in the House of Representatives regulating the use of social media, prescribing penalties, and for other purposes. It was authored by then Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez. House Bill number 5021, a bill that seeks to afford a remedial measure against fake news and fake accounts, and will regulate social media platforms by requiring social media companies to verify the identity of user applicants before they are allowed to open an account. So, ang kini nga proposed na balaod, nag-require sa Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram na before anyone can open an account on Facebook, for example, dapat muhatag sila o verification na sila na ako si Ayan ng account ko. Okay? Dili ko si kuan nga nagpanggap na ko nga sa kuan. There is a proposed law, there is a bill. Okay? Ang pangutana, should we allow it or not? Kay, I think what the proposed law or the bill seeks to address is kanang anonymity sa social media na wala kaila. Kaya nagtakot lagi. Kinsa ni mga purveyors of fake news. You mentioned ni Atty. General niya Cebu Flash Report. Hantod karon wala kaila kinsa mga tao na palayo ani. And the reason why gusto kay sila magpa-data o fake news kay wala kaila nila. Kung kaila pa nila magduha-duha sila o post o fake news. And then even Senator Pangilinan and Senator Joel Villanueva, they proposed a law seeking to penalize those who make or spread fake news. And then I wrote, I believe such proposals will not truly solve the problem. It may even damage our most cherished principles of freedom of speech. Wala akong ingon na maghinay-hinay ta sa pag-regulate. Kay basig madaking asta na instead of regulating fake news, ang ato na lang most cherished freedom of speech ang ma-regulate. Okay? Some of my concerns, I wrote, are who will decide what is fake news or misinformation? kinsa man ang gobyerno, makasalig ka sa gobyerno, na may mo siyang fake news na, kini sakto ni. Okay? Salig mo sa gobyerno, who will determine if public interest is involved? How will the flow of information be controlled to protect it against fake news? Those are the questions. That's why, ang akong advice, hinay-hinay ka. So in my article, should we criminalize fake news? I wrote, karon, it is the courts who have the power to determine if a particular speech is protected from censorship or subsequent punishment. Di po pasabot na doon natin freedom of speech, pwede na natin makastorya bisan kung sa current regime sa atong balaod, na ay basically 3 types of speech nga gibawal sa balaod or pwede kang mapamultahan or mapriso kung mo violate ka na law on freedom of speech. No? Una is, speech may only be restrained. One, if on matters of national security. For example, you publish something na gives information to the enemy, to the terrorists, which would put at a disadvantage your soldiers. Definitely, that information can be censored. Ikaduha, to protect decency, as in the case of obscene publications. In the Philippines, no, we still ban obscene publications, pornography. 3, where speech may incite others to violent action, it may be suppressed in order to protect the community. Even the law against libel, the ultimate purpose is not just to protect a person's honor, but it's actually also to protect the entire community. No? Na dili magumot pa, na ang tao nga i-insulto siya, dili siya mo resort to violent methods. Diba? Kita, especially sa atong culture, mga Pilipino, we are Asians. We value our, we have what we call face, diba? Na dili ta naumon, no? Dili kita prangka ng mga tao kay we value our face and our honor. So that's why there are laws against defamation and libel, because we give a person who is libeled or defamed a legal remedy to protect his honor and to also seek damages other than resorting to violence. Otherwise, aside from those 3 limitations, it has been long held that only a free and unrestrained press can effectively expose deception in government and institutions of power. I don't believe that criminalizing fake news is the most effective way to challenge its purveyors. So, I urge caution, in other words. So, what should we do? I wrote, the most effective way to fight misleading or false political information is for men and women who are considered credible sources by citizens across the ideological spectrum to speak out and debunk false information. And by men and women who are credible, I do not mean only katong nasa media or people we know, but kita, mga ordinaryong tao. Kita nga katuuhan sa atong katilingban, sa atong komunidad. We should speak out the truth or the facts na kita atong naibawan. We should spread, as according to Father Jim Boyd, we should spread the good news. Okay? We should share our ordinary lives. Okay? That is a reflection of what God wants us to be, wants our community to become. Okay? Let's speak out. No? Dili lang na magpakahilong. And then, by doing so, atong malungsan or we can ground this negativity surrounding us because of social media. Regulation tends to create what we call a chilling effect. Okay? If you let government regulate, that's what happens. It's a term described by the Supreme Court in the case of Dicini versus Secretary of Justice. It's a 2014 case, as that which creates a tendency to intimidate the free exercise of one's constitutional rights. So kung if we heavily regulate social media against fake news, basi na no, mahatlong na tamo speak out kay basi fake news din o, basi masayok ko. And then mapriso ko, di ba? So, in the cybercrime law, the Supreme Court, in voiding Section 5 of that law, declared that aiding or abetting online libel, a person who does not know whether his speech constitutes a crime under overbroad or vague law may simply restrain himself from speaking in order to avoid being charged of a crime. The overbroad or vague law thus chills him into silence. So the Supreme Court said, kanang mo like ka sa usa ka libelous statement, usa ka fake news, and other similar text, no? Dili na siya crime. So, there's a section there in the cybercrime law na ilang i-void.